Call this meeting to order of the Topsham Select Board, It's March 20th, 2025. And we are broadcasting from the Donald A. Russell meeting. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, please call the roll in person.
Roland Tufts.
Here.
Marie Brilliant.
Here.
Ann Callahan.
Here.
Ryan Holmes.
Here.
Matt Nixon.
Here.
All present. We'll get our town manager, Mark Waltz, also at the head table.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item, town manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. A reminder that April 1st is the deadline for filing for various exemptions. If you don't already have the following exemptions: homestead exemption, blind exemption, veteran exemption, either 62 years or old, or 100% service-related disability, current use tree growth, farmland, or open space, applications must be filed in the assessor's office by April 1st. Applications are available on the assessor's page of the town website or in person. If you already have the exemption, there's no need to reapply. Our spring road postings are now up. Watch for the orange signs. If you need to have a delivery from a truck which would exceed the weight limit, depending on expected temperatures, there may be ability to get a permit from Public Works Department. Contact Public Works for details. And spring started today. That's it.
Thank you very much. Good news. All right, next item, board and committee reports. We have none. Public comment. Q, correspondence.
Yes, we received a copy of the report here. We're gonna put a resignation letter from. That would be my name. Nancy Chandler, that she sent, in care of Mark, and it was $4.
Great.
From the Energy Committee.
Any other correspondence? Okay. Let's see, adjustments to the agenda. We have none. All right, on to the consent calendar. Approval of the minutes of the regular select board meeting of March 6, 2025. A motion.
I make a motion that we accept the select board meeting minutes for March 6th, 2025 as recorded.
Second. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Motion carries. Public hearing, none. Unfinished business, none. Old business, none. On to new business. 25-21, consideration and any appropriate action on the appointments of members to the Voter Registration Appeals Board.
Linda's not here, so I can do that. Linda's has applicants and suggesting that you appoint Gail Eaton to be a Democratic representative, William Eaton to be an alternate, and Alan Sarvinas to be the Republican representative, and Diane Bersoni
As the alternate.
to be alternate.
Great. Any questions or discussion?
Okay, who the third one is,
Who?
the third person. There has to be three according to the statute on the next page. Registration appeals board consists of 3 members who must one be appointed as follows. It might be helpful to at least, or table it. I don't care at this point, but I mean, there's no information online about it either, so it might be good. to
Yeah.
have them.
I think that's right, wise. Let's just get with them.
Yeah, especially around this particular issue.
Thank you. All right, 25-22.
Excuse me, what was the result of 21?
Oh, we're just tabling it.
Table on, thank you.
Yeah. All right, 25-22, consideration and any appropriate action to apply for a public safety and wellness grant through the Maine Department of Public Safety.
Good evening, Christopher Blown, Fire Chief. I do gotta modify my request slightly on this one. The Department of Public Safety came out with a health and wellness grant. It's designed to do cardiac testing, cancer testing, some mental health stuff. Saginaw County received $53,875. $53,875. That's what SAG can apply for, the county. We were gonna do one together, us and Topsham PD. But SAG County Sheriff's Office reached out to us I got an email on Tuesday of this week, and Hagan talked to them last week, where the county's putting in one for everybody. So I'd hate for them to ask for $52,000 countywide, and then we get shut out and left outside because we didn't jump on board with them. Plus, part of the grant scoring is regionalization. So if we go in with the county, we have a better chance of getting it. So we gave them our numbers. So tonight, I really just need approval to, in conjunction with Sag County Sheriff's Office, apply for a health and safety grant for PD and fire. And they're gonna handle all the funding.
So the three numbers you gave us for the life pack,
That's
the
not this
vehicle,
one. That's
oh,
the
that's
next,
different.
that's
Okay.
my next agenda item. I'm here twice.
Ah. Do you have that?
This is something different, yeah. This is for cardiac testing, screening, and cancer testing. The firefighters and police officers. Yeah, so like lipid panels and echocardiograms and whole cancer screenings.
I just,
So
Is that minimum money?
I just didn't see it on.
Power public safety was in last year's legislation, to set some money aside for,
Also, general fund, or stuff, or whatever, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, it's already been approved, just took them a while to actually push it out.
Cool.
So,
And who conducts the actual screening?
there's a couple companies, Sigma is one, United Diagnostics is another one. They've done quite a few with fire departments, they go up to the fire chief conference and do it every year. Those are the two that Sag County was looking at. And the price varies, but,
So having this, is it
It
so
is there.
possibly they wouldn't have to use their insurance?
well, if they get diagnosed with something, then yes, they'll use the insurance, but what happens is a lot of time, your insurance isn't gonna pay for this testing. Like colonoscopy per se, you have to wait till you're 40 or 45, but in firefighters, you know, rectal and colon cancer is more prominent. So what this service does is it provides that screening outside of the insurance. And then, oh, come to find out you have some sort of cancer, then your insurance comes in and takes over, but it gives us early detection and early screening is really what it is.
That's good. Any questions? No? All right, take a photo. Or motion?
I make a motion to apply for a public safety and wellness grant through the Maine Department of Public Safety and the Saginaw County
Sure. Yeah.
Sheriff's Department.
Second. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Motion carries. Next, 25-23. Consideration of any appropriate action to accept $119,399.03 from the Department of Public Safety for the healthcare disparities funding for community paramedicine.
Yeah, so this grant, I applied for it. My original request was 119,000, 339. It's a little snafu of a number in there. I got an award letter last week. There was 10 communities, 3 fire departments, us, Portland and Waterville were the 3 fire departments, and the rest were all private ambulance services. I got an email yesterday that they didn't give us the full 119, so the number that I'm gonna be requesting tonight, someone wants to write it down, $103,345.50. Basically, they had more requests than they thought they would, so anyone over 100,000, they kind of spread it out amongst the group. So with that money, we're gonna purchase a cardiac monitor, $103,345.50. Yeah, you're welcome. We're gonna buy a cardiac monitor, that's a little over $50,000, it's actually 56,000. Because right now, when Elizabeth goes on a visit that requires EKG monitoring, she has to take one off our spare rescue. So if we had a third rescue call, she would then have to meet them on scene. So in part of this grant, we're gonna get a cardiac monitor, and then we have a spare, which is nice. And then the other piece is a vehicle acquisition. The one thing I can't do now, the training piece that I originally had in there, and then we're not gonna be able to outfit the vehicle with lights and lettering and all that kind of stuff right now, but it's gonna be strictly just the vehicle. And our service truck, 2010 Dodge Ram, won't pass inspection, it's on its last legs. We're just gonna get rid of that, and her car essentially will replace it. So we're not really gonna add to the fleet as a whole, but she's gonna have a dedicated car. Right now, she uses mine. Deputy Chief's on vacation, I took her vehicle, and Elizabeth's using mine for the week, because it's low to the ground. So those are the 2 things we're gonna buy with this money. Yeah, go
So,
for it.
if I've got the calculations correct, there's a new price for the vehicle with less outfitting, which would be 496, 47.
You got it, spot on. And I took, Chief Hagan's bids from last year. And they were 44,995, and said add 2,000 to that every year, so it's gonna be right about 46, we're gonna be right in that ballpark to get the,
Okay,
same thing that he gets essentially. Yep, that's the plan anyway.
okay.
Any other questions? Good. The motion?
I make a motion to accept a $103,345.50 grant, it's a grant, from the Department of Public Safety for the Healthcare Disparities Funding for Community Paramedicine to include the purchase of a LifePak cardiac monitor for $56,849.03 and the purchase of a vehicle for $46,496.47.
Motion, moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you very much.
25-24, consideration and any appropriate action to authorize the treasurer to convey the real property located at 88 Meadow Cross Road to Brandy Fern Hobby for the sum of $2,046.39 if paid by March 24th, 2025.
Ms. Hubby's approached us and wants to get all caught up in her taxes and get the property back into her name. This one is one we acquired at the end of February, and the insurance company told us that they'd waive the fee since it was so short, so that's why there's no insurance charge added for this one. So this amount, the $2,046.39, will get the town whole. So we ask your permission to convey the property back to her for that.
Any questions?
No question.
All right,
Staff time built into some of these in the past?
No, I haven't.
No. Well, maybe I'm thinking of the,
We were allowed to, if we were to, say we list it with a realtor, and then, because you're not allowed to make a quote unquote profit on the property.
Yeah.
So if we were listing it with a realtor, we could, get our staff time as part of it, but we've never done that when we convey it back to the owner.
I remember thinking when you did that huge list, when you went through all the,
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm thinking of. That there's one, there was some staff time at one point included in the reimbursement, but then that, so.
Yeah.
I'll go.
all right, we'll take a motion.
I move to authorize the treasurer to convey the real property located at 88 Meadow Cross Road to Brandy Fern Hubby, for the sum of $2,044. Next to zero in there. 2,046.39. It paid by March 24th, 2025.
And a second? Moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous? All right, on to 25-25, consideration, excuse me, any appropriate action to authorize the treasurer to convey the real property located at 39 Harmony Hill Road to Lucille and Mark Young for the sum of $511.79 if paid by March 24th, 2025.
This one's a mobile home, but it's another recent one, so there's no insurance due on it. And this one, because it's a mobile home, doesn't actually need a deed for the registry of deeds. So the total amount due is $511.79, and actually it's sitting in cash in the safe right now. So it's already been paid. If you're willing to accept it, we'll release our interest.
I move to authorize the treasurer to convey the mobile home located at 39 Harmony Hill Road to Lucille and Mark Young for the sum of $511.79 if paid by March 24th, 2025, which it sounds like it's already had been.
Certain.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous? 25, excuse me, 25-26, consideration and any appropriate action to review and discuss a draft policy on attendance and related issues for boards and committees.
So what this policy does is I try to capture your past discussions about this. So I'll go through it real quick, but you're expecting the committees and boards to do the following things. It's got in here that without explicit approval, someone can't serve on more than two. That's in section A, because that was one of the things that you guys had discussed. And then the next section B is the attendance rule. So it says that either excused or unexcused, they're not supposed to miss more than 25% of the meetings in a fiscal year, so July 1st to June 30th. There is an ability to have someone, say, appeal the removal from the committee, and that was something that the town attorney wanted to make sure was in there. And he has reviewed this, so that is included in that part. C deals with the issue of what we're going to call internal positions versus external positions. So some committees have jobs where they're supposed to make recommendations. For instance, the finance committee makes recommendations on budget items. Other committees have jobs for certain, like planning board approves plans or something. So that's all fine. But this does not allow other committees to take external positions without prior select board approval. So this deals with the issue that came up a few weeks ago with the letters in support of things. It doesn't say committees can't do stuff, it just says they need your approval so that you have the opportunity to make sure the town is all on the same page and speaks with one voice. The section D, you remember Sky was back in December and she talked to you about the committee partnership program that you like the idea of. So this formalizes or references that just so that people know that exists, and the committee needs to fill out the form and come before you before starting a new initiative. Subsection E reminds committees that they don't want to be doing business by email, so that they should be having meetings to have their discussions and things. And also that they should follow the recording policy that you passed a few months ago. Subsection F says that if a committee doesn't follow these things, that can be taken into account as you decide whether you want to continue a committee's charge or term. And then another thing, this was suggested by the attorney, is that all committee members shall be reviewed annually by the select board or at least 90 days prior to their end of their appointment. So you can kind of make sure that people are doing what they want or worth reappointing and things. So this is all suggested basically for discussion. You may not want some of this, you may like some of this. My thought is that once you find, or this gets to a point where you like it, probably makes sense to have a public hearing. And then we send notice of this to all the boards and committees so everyone gets a chance to comment in case there's some unintended consequences that haven't been thought about or something like that.
I do have one question too. We had talked in discussion about adding to this that committees are not permitted to task Town of Topsham staff. Did we not put that in there anywhere?
I did not put anything explicit on that, no.
So that, you know, the committees are set up to function independently, but not to be adding burdens to any of our staff or any of the staff representatives. They're here to record meetings, they're here to give advice if asked advice, but that outside of the meetings, I'm under the assumption that they're not supposed to be tasking people. Should that be in this policy?
I almost, it's kind of a fine line.
Or do we put that in the chart?
Because say like, for instance, Pam staffs the community center committee. So Pam may offer, you know, maybe there's something they want to try to accomplish and she'll say, let me help you with that or do it. So I don't think problem if we put an explicit do not in here, then it makes it harder for the committees to maybe do things that they should be doing.
Yeah, my point was that they can't assign, they can't task staff to do things. Staff can volunteer, Pam volunteers all the time to help with things. You probably volunteer on committees to do things as well. So I don't know how you want to handle that. Does anybody have, you know, discussion about just to make sure that everyone understands? A lot of our staff are going to multiple meetings and they have their regular job to do. And I just want to make sure that there's an understanding that, you know, they're doing the work pretty much. Or do we put that in the charge? We can put that in the charge.
I think it's also maybe sort of been dealt with by your community partnership policy. So, I mean, the run-of-the-mill committee things, the staff members, I think are all confident enough. If they think they're being asked to do something they don't have time to do, they'll do so, or they'll bring it to my attention. And if need be, I could bring it to your attention. But if the committees fill out the community partnership form before something starts, and then when it comes before you, you'll know what staff expectations are from that form.
And the staff person will be here to accept that responsibility.
And we can give you input of whether we think we've got the staff to accomplish that or not. And then you
Okay.
can decide if we want to do that initiative or not.
Okay.
Because isn't, I'm hoping I'm not confusing two things, but part of some of these things that the staff is needing to help with it, like with grants and stuff?
That's a good example of one that is, I think, a part of the reason for the partnership policy is it could be a staff member has time and says, yeah, I've got time to write this grant. But what we don't want is to committees to just say, hey, this is a good idea. There's a grant, go do this. And then there's 40 hours of work that someone needs to do that doesn't have time to do. So.
I mean, I think as a courtesy, I mean, at least the direct supervisor should be made aware of it.
Yeah.
Before they are committed to it. And in some cases, you know, it needs to go to you. I think
Right.
probably that's at the discretion of what you and your direct reports want to do.
I think most of them know this, but I can reinforce it, is that when you staff a committee, you know, you go to it, you give information, you help facilitate things, but you aren't expected to all of a sudden add 5 hours a week to your work week. If you're asked to do something like that, bring it to my attention or the chair of that committee's attention. Then,
Particularly if it's a conflict with your personal work life, because that's a real challenge.
you know, for instance, Sky right now serves our recode committee, and that's a ton of work. And it's work she should be doing, you know, because you need to have the planning director ultimately very involved in that. And she expects until it gets passed, it's probably gonna take about 50% of her time. So we need to make sure that she doesn't get dragged into other projects that would take considerable amounts, because there just isn't enough hours a day there. I don't know if we necessarily have to write that specifically here. I think between the partnership policy and what we currently do, I think we're okay with that.
I don't have any questions or comments on the policy as written, but I'm assuming we want to just make this available for public comment. That we just want to add it to the next meeting, and is that when we do it, or two meetings out?
I was just, you might even want to push it out into May only, because
We have a lot coming up at the
your
warrant.
next meeting, you'll be looking at the warrant, and then the one after that is the public comment on it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I have one question. I'm just trying to find on here. I've read it already, I just can't find it. Along with the attendance being taken, do we? I don't think it needs to be included in this, I'm just forgetting where it is, but the need to take minutes and then submit the minutes after they're approved.
It's in that recording policy you passed last fall.
That's what I was looking for, thank you.
The other thing we were kind of thinking about staff wise that would make sense is if this passes, we start an orientation process. You know, a little half hour or something for new board and committee members where we make them aware of these various policies. And then probably initially we do it with every committee just so that everyone's up on the same page. And then after that, it would just be as people get renewed and things. Because like, for instance, recently there was a committee that was just about to start debating things by email. And then the assistant town manager said, oh, wait a minute, you can't do this. I don't think anyone was trying to be evil. They just didn't realize that the things need to come to the public meeting and be discussed and can't go back and forth in email.
Our committees don't go through FOIA training, do they?
No, other than you, and I think the planning board does some.
So, I mean, you don't know what you don't know
Exactly.
until you know it.
Yep.
So I think it's great to educate our committees on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. This is how we conduct ourselves, what the expectations are. I think that's great.
And that would be in that orientation.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
So I guess we'll table it for tonight and look to schedule it in May.
Why don't we just go ahead and vote to do the public comment in either the first or the second select board meeting in May?
That's fine. If we have
Which one is best?
just tell, yeah, if there's a date that we can work with.
If you want to use the first May select board meeting, we could do that.
Okay.
Which I think is May 1st.
This would be retroactive, right?
No.
It is the first meeting's on the first.
All right.
So do we make a motion to put that on the agenda?
Yeah, we should have a public hearing then.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to have a public hearing for public comment on the board, commission, and committee policy on the first select board meeting, 1st of May, 2025.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous? Okay, all right, 25-27, consideration of any appropriate action on having a discussion regarding the wording of the warrant article related to the climate action plan.
Well, I took just a piece of the climate action plan out, just to show where it would go into the plan. And this is just suggested wording for us to talk about. But it says, it is understood that the town of Topsham does not have the personnel or financial resources to implement this plan immediately. However, future select boards can use this list of strategies as they determine budgets and personnel for implementation each year.
What are you looking at me for?
What? I thought
It's usually,
I thought he had some corrections, that's why I.
Yeah, I do have, I mean, I'm totally fine, with what, provided. My only correction was, we are actually doing some of this stuff right now. So for us to say that we don't have personnel or financial resources to implement the plan immediately is not entirely accurate, because we are actually supporting and enhancing regional trail systems, talking about complete streets policy, pursuing grant funding, engaging youth and resilience, so some of that stuff's already happened. So
Should it say ongoing?
my thought is to say personal or financial resources to implement many of the initiatives contained within this plan immediately. That was my thought. And then pretty much leave everything else.
Many of the
Initiatives contained within this plan immediately.
I think the intent of this is well-rounded. I think it's also needs to be stated and understood that the Energy Committee has put forth action steps, some of which don't cost money. And those ones obviously are gonna be stuff that we can tackle on very easily. With other suggestions of things that might come up that might save the town money. Those are all no-brainers. I think this is more about just any type of financial impact that it might have. I guess, i.e. the unintended consequences of some of those action items without having, a cost analysis previous to, it may cost nothing, or it may cost a lot, or somewhere in the middle, we don't know. So I think to have this little bit of a safety net so that we don't have to go through an action plan and saying, we're gonna do all of these items and find out that we've got to spend lots of money to take on some of those things. I think a statement like, whatever we determine is probably a good idea. I don't know what needs to necessarily be in there, but I think this is a good start.
very, relative to the placement on the warrant, is there any? We should place this more prominently, or?
No, it should be in the action plan, correct, according to the attorney?
Right, the town attorney, I reached out to him, thinking this question may come up, and he said that we don't want to put it in the actual article. He said the actual article should be kept clean. Shall Topsham adopt the proposed 2025 climate action plan, for instance. He said if there were words to say that in essence, limit how quickly the plan gets enacted, that should be in the plan itself, which is what Select Board Member Callahan suggested. So town attorney would be fine with this.
Patty, do you want me to give you the wording again, how it's changed, or you got it?
All I have is what you gave me.
I have it right here.
He's done it for you.
Good. Thank you. That's a good change.
Disregard that,
Disregard which one?
the bottom.
Bottom one, okay?
Top one.
I mean, the one that's faded out?
Matt,
Yeah.
can you,
Sucks.
Matt, can you read, do you have a copy of that still?
Yeah.
Can you read a copy of what the clean
No,
statement might be?
It's understood that the town of Topsham does not have the personnel or financial resources to implement many of the initiatives contained within this plan immediately. However, future select boards can use this list of strategies as they determine budgets and personnel for implementation each year. Understood that it's just for financial and personnel stuff, but I've been burned by wording in this town in the past. Nothing new. I just want to make sure we're very clear and accurate here. So the way it was originally written, it says the plan, which means anything in the plan. So I think this sort of adjusts expectations there and allows us to continue doing some of the stuff we're already doing. My thoughts.
Okay.
so Patty, just the first correction, not the second one, the second one is eliminated, it goes on mine. originally.
Right.
Thank you. Do I need to repeat that, or as Matt presented, we make a motion to include this in the
As long as she's
climate
got it down word for word, we're good.
action?
So this is the only change, without the second one.
Yes.
Your climate action plan suggestion, great.
All right, here's second for the motion.
Second,
I think she
did you move it?
I did.
Excellent.
thought so. All right, moving second, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. All right,
All right.
You ready for the adjournment?
We do that, one scheduling question.
Yeah.
So the water and sewer report that TDI commissioned, they are still finalizing it, but expected to be done by early May. Just judging on how long it took to present the draft, it's probably like 1.5 to 2 hours, especially once people ask questions. And it's not that it's gonna have people lecture for that long, but it's very interesting and you'll have a lot of questions. So the question is, do you want to have a special, say, workshop with TDI just for that? Or do you want to try to have a meeting with a light agenda? What's the preference?
It depends on when it's gonna be, you know.
Sometime in mid to late May, or it could be earlier than mid-May.
Well, yeah.
Let's put it that way.
5 Thursdays in May, so we could do it off cycle.
The night before the 5th Thursday is your town meeting. You okay with 2 nights in a row?
Okay, then
What are you talking
late
about?
agenda then.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Right now, you're talking about the energy plan?
No, we're just doing a scheduling thing. So
Okay. I'm lost.
Part of me feels like I would prefer to do a workshop with TDI, just so we can bounce all of the questions off each other. I feel like they might think of things that we may not think, and vice versa. So to have them here would probably be a good idea versus just having a light meeting that's gonna turn into a long meeting. I'd rather have a light
Well, you
meeting.
get a meeting and then follow it with a workshop.
Could do that.
Yeah.
Just I guess just to make sure
Because we want-
TDI's here, you know?
Right.
Public to have comment, right?
Yes.
Or this one is more just to teach it. So it isn't so much, they're not asking you to implement it or anything. It's more just to let you know what the results of the study were and stuff.
Just
Are you gonna check with them about a tentative date?
What I'd probably, if you say you'd rather do a separate workshop, I guess we can either, we know this room's available the night after, town meeting. But if you don't want to do those 2 things 2 nights in a row, I could pick some nights this room's available in May, throw them out, and you can tell me if they look good in your schedules or
I like that option.
I'll be out of state the 5th and 6th, so I'm not available.
not. Yeah, it wouldn't be till after the 5th anyway, so we're looking at the last couple of weeks.
Okay. So where are we at?
I will,
I think it's fine as long as, again, we just want to make sure we have enough time. People aren't in their seat too long and they start walking out before you have to
So
go.
there's no action required for tonight by us?
No,
I'll just reach out, I'll find some dates, this room's available, throw some dates out, and you guys can, so you and TDI, we'll see what works.
Okay.
in the past, the Thursday after the town meeting's always been no town, been no selectmen's meeting, so.
Yeah.
So. All right, I think that's good.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
yes. All in favor? Thank you.
Unanimous. I saw it.
I would like that's probably